Well, let's dive into it. You all are here, and um, this is just a question and answer. I wanted to host this to answer questions about audiobooks. I have a lot to share about them, but I want to know really from you first, and I'll just give you a tidbit of what I do, so that you know the context of what it is. I'm a jazz saxophonist. I've played for 30 years. I'm a producer. I produced 14 of my own albums. Um, just before COVID, I began, I've been recording audio since cassette tape. So speakers. So that I don't look that old, but that's how long I've been doing that. And so when it came to capturing speakers or coaches or people that would have their CDs in the back of the table and spend $25, and it's like birds chirping in the back, it's distorted, it's like, no, you can have something more cleaner. And I said I can help in that area. And so I started asking authors, have you recorded your audio version of your book? Because I'm an audio person. 20% of the world or more are audio only readers, or that's how we listen. We're auditory. And that's how this all started before pandemic. Well, it was perfect timely because pandemic, I could no longer do my jazz for the next, we thought it would be like 2 or 3 months, and it ended up being another 2 years or so. And so I really dove into the world of audiobooks and capturing and delivering the voice. And I learned that most people know about Audible, but there's actually 50 other platforms that are global, and libraries that we can get the voices out to. So, and there's a lot of mysteries of going in the studio and pushing record and capturing, your voice. We don't normally like our voice initially, and but uh, but everybody else does. So we want to make that. That's my mission and purpose for that. So as the voice brander, it's like your voice is your brand. We each have a voice print that is unique, like our fingerprint. And once we hear it, we've been listening to voices from the womb. And that's why when we come out, we look at mom because we recognize that tone, the vibrations, the timbre, all of that. Even here today, you might have seen my picture on LinkedIn, and he probably sounds like this. But as soon as I talk, it's like, oh, that's nothing like what I was imagining. But you hear my voice, and now you'll know it from every interaction that we have, whether it's text or you'll look for my voice. So that's a little bit about me in a snippet, but I want to open up the floor. I know some may be in and out and some may be coming in, but what questions do you have about audiobooks? And maybe we could start from there. And go ahead, Hale. I see your hand
I have,
raised.
I have another question outside the question.
Mhm.
How long is this event?
I'm planning like an hour and a half, if needed, but maybe an hour. It may only be an hour if it's just us here.
Mhm.
You can consume all the time that you want.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Hmm.
Um, Going back to the question, I haven't thought about audio. I mean, I did co-author one book, and then I have my own book, but never thought about it as an audio.
Gotcha. Well, I will let me speak a little bit of why audio is so powerful. It's the fastest growing segment of the publishing industry.
Yep.
Um, Again, 25% of the market is audiobook only listeners. And and we miss out on that audience of whatever our message is, our memoir, things like that. I have a lot of anthology or people, authors that are part of anthologies, and they've recorded their voice, just their chapter.
Huh.
And you can use your voice as a major marketing tool as well, for whether it's the chapter for the book, for your programs, whatever it is that you're working to get out there. And it's one thing when people will pay, at minimum, they'll pay attention to your voice. And if they push play and they're going to listen to you, like right now, I have your attention for however time you're going to stay on here. And that's the minimum payment. And if they like what you say, and if they like and they want to hear more, then they'll either go further to where can I find more, listen to more. And so it is one of the most powerful marketing tools for your book or your message. And I push that authors gift a free chapter to everybody. It's almost like putting out a trailer for a movie.
That's sweet.
And then if they like the trailer, then they may go see the movie. Or
Yeah.
I like to think of being a musician, I think of audiobooks as authors' albums, and each chapter is their single. So, musicians normally release a single out to the world, and people are like, ooh, that's a single coming out. So I'm going to buy the whole album. So if you do that, send a chapter out for free, then if they like it, they'll buy the album. So that's kind of the marketing message I have for them.
Yes, I can totally feel, yes, because the voice is a different magnetic attraction when you uh, read it. And a lot of people don't have the time to sit down, and there's so many books.
Yes.
Like, I love books. I also love to have a book tangible as well too. So it's like different ways of looking and catching up. Like, I wouldn't mind when I'm driving, have a book read to me actually too, so, or you're
Yes.
busy doing something else. Let's say you're doing your chores, and yes, I totally relate. And yes.
Yep. Good aspect. Audiobooks are listening is passive. When we're reading or watching video, that's active, at least for our eyeballs. And you can't do anything else but doing that. Um, and also, so like Alan was sharing with me how, um, interestingly, how he lost his eyesight 15 years ago. And so it's really intriguing. And I want to hear more from you, Alan. Like, audiobooks were made for back in Thomas Edison made it the phonograph in 1877, and he made recording the human voice to play on demand at any time in the future. So he made the phonograph for that, and what he made it for was for talking books. That's what they called it. So audiobooks is the beginning of the whole recording industry as we know it, music, everything. Excuse me. And he made it for injured soldiers and the early wars. And the first books were like Shakespeare and the Bible. Um, but then it went to talking books, then it went to music, and then it went, and grew what we know, everything, video, everything now is audio. And um, and it started off in libraries. So libraries were and still are the main channel for hosting audiobooks. Audible has about 60% of the market, so to speak. I thought it was 100%, and it's not. It's only like 60% of the market. Um, but audio is passive. So, like you said, people are working out, they are commuting, they are cleaning the kitchen, and you're consuming. And I like physical books as well. I like to dog ear and highlight and things like that. But
Exactly. Yes.
right.
Oh,
So a lot of the trend now is, and the growing trend is that people get audiobooks for the commute. So every morning when I'm working out, I'm listening to a half hour, an hour of an audiobook. And, in a whole week, I'm finishing a book. Where me reading a book, I have several over here where I've read a chapter a month or something like that.
right.
But audiobook, I know I'm going to listen to it, and I can even put it on repeat. So in 2 weeks, I can listen to the book twice and get something from it each time. So yeah, it's passive.
Yes.
Good
I,
stuff. Good stuff.
I like that background with the headset and the books in there. That's cool.
Oh, thank
That's very creative. Yes. That's creative.
you.
And he has this headset, and there's book inside the headset, so that's his background. So
Audiobooks. That's right. I found that I made that. I said, "Oh, this is gonna be
Yeah,
this is
that matches perfectly. That's correct. Yeah.
good. Good feedback." Latara, introduce yourself. I know that Hele knows you, but thanks for jumping on. I was like, I know she's gonna be here, I think.
Yeah, I started working with Vaughn when was it? November? October?
um,
November
yeah, about
maybe?
November. Mhm.
Yeah, somewhere around there. And um it, it I've since I've been in this world, uh Vaughn and I have had many discussions on how significant your audiobook is in your marketing, because it covers so many things that an ebook can't, and that a video can't. So it's just an eye opener every time every time I have a conversation with him. And maybe I can pick your brain, Vaughn,
Yes.
to kind of explore all of these marketing ideas that people might not even consider. And that is one of the things that you say is to not start with Audible, even though when people think they're going to put their audiobook together, that's the first thing that they think of.
Yes.
And you said not to start with Audible. And can you explain why?
Sure. So we're all conditioned with, we're mostly conditioned with, to go to Amazon and Audible, especially audiobooks. And I say you do Audible last. You ultimately want to have your book on there because that's normally, and Alan, this would be interesting. I don't know if this is the same in the UK and with books, if you, um, the norm here in America is, get your bestseller, get listed as a bestseller badge from Amazon, and you do that by selling X amount of things between a day or two. Um, is that the same UK kind of?
We've got the same market basically. It's
Mhm.
all Amazon here, yeah.
Gotcha.
But I am speaking to a publisher, and she says it's not the best direction to head. There's, there's so many other places you can market a book, and it's
Right.
better to build up there. Um, and that bestseller, you get a very unique category where there's only half a dozen people, and then you put yours in and publicize it. You sell 10 books, and that becomes a bestseller, and it's just rubbish.
Right.
So, that's not the way I want to go. I want it, a major outlets, and that's the way I'm tackling it.
Nice. Nice. Great. Well, that actually confirms and helps my approach. What my approach is. So Amazon last because, like you said, there's findawayvoices.com, is a distributor that Spotify just bought. Spotify just started doing audiobooks in direct competition with Audible, and which is a very, very smart move because they're next to Apple. I think they're the biggest like music streaming. They're taking over in competition with Apple and with Amazon. But for them to accumulate audiobooks is great because it's one and the same, and they're gonna it's just another great place to have your audiobook. But they bought Findaway Voices. Findaway Voices distributes to over 50 global libraries and other audiobook platforms. So Audiobooks New Zealand, audiobooks.com, Chirp and Script, which are other major audiobook distribute places. Walmart is doing audiobooks now. So Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Nook. Um, you want to go to Hoopla. Hoopla is like the largest in the universities and colleges. They handle all of the college book distribution for physical, ebooks, and audio for lesson plans and things like that. So that's like university wide in the library. So it distributes to there. So you'll be discoverable through college age or all of that. Hoopla, Libro FM. What's the other one? Biblioteca is another library, big major distribution. Overdrive is library. So people with library cards, where audiobooks started, they can get audiobooks for free, but the libraries actually pay you as an author much more than Amazon, Apple, or anybody else. Libraries will pay the authors almost 2 to 3 times. They tell you to price your book 2 to 3 times more for the libraries. And the library, I don't know how they do it, but they just pay more. So I have authors that are in Findaway Voices that they're getting monthly checks and deposits from, because people are discovering them in the library in their categories. So one, being on all of those platforms, and to your point, Alan, like being somewhere else, do that first to be discovered. There's 850,000 and growing audiobook titles on Audible. But in the same category on all these other 50 ones, there may be only 80,000 titles in your genre. So is a much more greater opportunity for people to discover you. You may be kind of the only one, or a very very few in whatever category your message is. So you're more likely to be discovered, purchased, and all things that our books are about, that we want to put them out. So that's the big Findaway Voices. I discovered that from battling with Audible for one of my first authors. It took almost a year to get on Audible, because they're they hold the standard on the technicalities, different than podcasts. Podcasts you can upload, you can record on your phone. It doesn't have to be anything professional, and that's why you have some great podcasts sounding, or some that sound like it's in the garage. With audiobooks, it's very stringent, and you technically almost have to be an engineer to get it past the qualifications to get it up there. And so Audible holds the standard, but they had a rigid, you would turn this 6-hour audiobook in, then they would say, oh, you don't have enough, you need 0.5 seconds of room noise before you speak, and you need a second to 5 seconds afterwards. You don't have that margin in there, so they'll kick the whole thing back, and then you have to fix it. And before, they would say something's wrong on one of your tracks. It's too low, or it's too low a volume, or it's too high a volume. And you're like, well, which one? Well, just check all of them. And you would redo everything, submit it again. And then they would say something else is wrong. Oh, well, you have a margin on your book cover. You can't have this, blah, blah, blah. So they kicked the whole thing back. So each time they kicked back, it was another 5 weeks before your thing was edited. It was terrible. So that's how I found there has to be someone else that's distributing audiobooks. And I found Findaway Voices. And it's amazing to be on there. Then I'll share about a third platform that you can think of it more of your exclusive site. Jumping back to Audible. Audible is going to take 75% of your sale price of your book that you can't even set how much you want to sell it for. If you wanted to sell your audiobook for $15, the algorithm is actually going to be, well, your genre and the length of your book is like these other ones. So when you go on Audible and it says, oh, if you like this, you may like this. And they may sell your book for $6.99, and then they're going to take 75% of that and give you 25%. So that's another reason to put here last. Over here on this exclusive site, it's called awsound.com. Mark Moriarty is the creator of that. He's from Belgium. I'm kind of like the US ambassador of it. I discovered him. One, on Awsound, they only take 20% of whatever price that you make. So if you wanted to sell it for $15 or say $20, you keep 16. And it's through Stripe. So you get this is the priceless part of it. You get the name and the email of everybody that buys your audiobook. priceless, because now you're building your mailing list. Now you can promote your other books, your program, your speaking, your products, your services, whatever it is. It's priceless. So one book sale, even if you sold it for $10, and you can change the price every day if you want. You can be having a speaking engagement. Hey everybody, I'm speaking here. Like you join the Zoom, so my push record audiobook, I'm giving it for 2 cents today, or something like that. You can change it on the fly, and you still get the name and the email of everyone. So now for my further events or whatever, you use that for promotional. So I say use your exclusive site first, do that campaign. And it's not like you go on Awesound. You don't tell people to go to awesound.com. You give them your direct link. It's basically just your book. So there's no suggestions for anything else, no sales package. There's no app to download. There's no subscription to do. So it's literally they are buying your book direct. So kind of like Prince and Adele, they sold their music. They didn't go on Apple and Spotify and everything. They're like, no, if you want to buy our music, come to our site and we're going to give you our music directly. There's no middleman, no one. So that's why I liked Awesound, because that's how I do my music. I think I only have one of my albums on Spotify, and all the other 14, you come to my site and my fans will get them and download them, stream them. And that's how Awesound is like. And you can, you keep 80% and you get the name and the email. It's amazing. Another part of that you can do is when I talked about gifting a free chapter, all the other sites you can't do that. On Awesound, you can make your sample chapter. Actually, Mark taught me that you can unlock like the first 2 chapters, and you can have the first 2 chapters free. So now when you're speaking or in your email or on your social media, you send people, hey, everybody, I'm doing my audiobook. I just want to gift you with a free chapter. Go to this link and enjoy. And they go there and they push play. And it streams your voice. It streams your book. And then they see all the other chapters there. It's like, wow, you've given me 20 minutes free. And they're paying attention for that long. It's like, oh, well, I want to get the rest of the 6 hours. And it's only $10, and you're still going to make $8 even if you sold it for $10. And even if Amazon sold it for $20, you would still only get $5 from that. But that's not going to happen. So I say start with Awesound first, your exclusive site. Do that campaign for several weeks, then release on Findaway Voices and Amazon last, so that you get the rest of the world in Amazon. But for your immediate sales, your ongoing, your push for your voice is listen to my first chapter. And audio is going to help the sales of your physical book, your ebook, like you were saying, Hale. I want to get both because I want to listen to it, but when I get home, I want to highlight and dog ear and review and stuff like that. So
great tips. Thank you.
big things.
Yes.
So I don't know, anything else you want to know about the fun facts? I told you about Thomas Edison and the phonograph, and
I have a question, Vaughn.
yes.
I'm speaking on behalf of a lot of authors that I've talked to about audiobooks, and one of the main questions that I'm getting is, why would I want to record my own voice as opposed to hiring somebody to record my audiobook for me, like hiring somebody on Fiverr or something?
Yes, awesome question. Okay, so this is my big soapbox, if you would. Well, the thing about your voice, you can hire a voice actor, which they're trained to do it. That's what they do all day long. I have several great friends with voice actors. But my thing is, for a nonfiction book, if you have a message, a method, or a memoir, or all three, a combination of those that you are wanting to send out, our voices contain the passion. It contains everything that, our belief, our, you know, we control, we possess that in our voice. Now you can give it to someone to play the part, but your targeted audience and the listeners, they are not going to feel the full capacity. Even if the voice actor knows you, we are the only ones that can communicate even our motions. Like me doing this motion, I'm moving my hands, Alan, and that's affecting how I'm emphasizing. And if I don't move my hands and I say the same things, it actually changes the energy of the voice. It changes if I'm going forward. And your belief and experience, especially in the memoir, I've had people in the booth, sharing about, when they were, whatever tragedy was, their struggles they had. They were either raped, or they were being beaten, or they were incarcerated, or they were in war. I just did a book with someone who came from the war in Afghanistan, a soldier, and he talks about losing his friend. Like no one else can share that experience. And for the listener, um, if I've met Halle on stage or in here in Zoom, I've heard her voice, I see her personality, uh, her, all of that is locked in, and her voice print is locked in. So if I go to listen to her audiobook, I want to hear her voice because I met her, we connected, and that's one of my personal peeves is looking at audiobooks and it's not the author speaking it. It's like, well, I just seen you on stage. I just bought a ticket to your event. We just shook hands and spent, a few hours in the lobby. So I want you in my earbuds. And so that's one of the reasons for the author to use their voice, because it's the connection to your audience. If you're a speaker or a coach or things like that, you're talking with people and we connect via our voice. That's why it is probably the most effective marketing piece, because people are getting you. We're connecting with you. I got your voice print. Now every text I get from Halle or email, I'm gonna hear it in her voice. I'm gonna remember how she explained her name is like hallelujah. So I want to hear that. Um, Alan, when we first got on and you're talking and hearing his unique voice and him sharing, it's like, I want to hear all of that texture, all of the depth and how he flows. That's all characteristic of personality. I want to hear his books with him sharing, what it is. So that's, to me, that's why I record. Now, some people absolutely don't want to do that, or maybe they don't have time. That's a big thing with AI right now, is speaking to AI and it'll replicate your voice um, um, and do your audiobook in 15 minutes. Yeah, that can happen. And yes, AI is getting to that Mission Impossible, that good. However, it'll sound like you, but it won't feel like you. I heard someone,
Feeling.
yeah, it won't feel like you. They're like, that sounds like Helene, but that's not, and one thing I love, this person said, AI doesn't have a body. That's why it can't sound like you. That makes all the difference. AI can, replicate your voice and mimic, but it won't feel like you because it doesn't have a body. And that is everything that's encompassed with our sounds. So I think AI is appropriate for like scholastic, astrophysics or something like that. And you want to listen to, or
Cool.
political science. Yeah. Learning kind of thing. Yeah. Let AI do that. Save time. You don't have to have the teacher do that. But for a message, a method, or a memoir, or something that we promote as like, this is what we've gotten the download for, and this is what our mission is, to share what's inside of us.
Yep.
That comes through in the,
Yeah.
you resonate with that, Halle, I think.
Yeah, a lot, because they have even AI write a book. I mean, yes, people can make more money and all of that, but it makes me actually want to go back in history.
Hmm.
because that's where the soul connection is, where kids really played. I looked at myself because I'm from the 80s, that
Mm,
literally we played games. Now they play games via these devices that we're addicted to. So
right.
I'm all about keeping ourself, our human selves still alive. You know, we got, as you said, we're human beings, the cells, organs, which robots don't have.
Yes. We have a body. I think, I think here's another, because I had, some authors asked, well, I wonder how your business is going to be in, the next 6 months as AI is coming about and things like that. And I said, well, it's going to affect, I think, and I think that, like I said, I think there's a plus to AI for things that don't necessarily have to be human. I mean, we hear recordings all the time. It's not a person, it's AI that's automatically generated online and stuff like that. We hear that all the time, and that's fine. However, like you said, I think what happened is if an author does an AI audiobook, it's different if they do it in not their voice. Like if I did an AI book and it was a male voice different than mine, that's different than if I put an AI book out and it's posing as me. Because the minute that my audience is like, you know what, I was listening to your book and then I mean it sounds like you, but did you do AI? And if I'm like, yeah, I saved a whole bunch of time and I was able to, now I've lost that person because now it's deception. And it sounds real harsh, but it's like, well, why didn't you take the time out to just talk to me? Um, Now I'm going to be questioning everything I've gotten from you from this point on because, well, is this is this live or is this Memorex kind of thing? Is this a recording of you or is this an imitation? Not even a recording of you. Actually, it's a replication, a digital replication, and so now you've lost authenticity, and that's just my now. You the person may not tell you, but for me, I'd be like, I'm not now. I'm not really interested because I don't. It's not authentic. You've lost it. I think my next book is going to be amplifying your authenticity, and I don't know what the subtitle, but it's going to be something along the lines of a voice with your voice with a human body as opposed to AI kind of thing, Mission Impossible kind of stuff. So I think that's going to start differentiating is yes, AI can be a tool where it saves a lot of time. And I think in written form, AI and writing out blogs, because I take forever to write stuff. It'll be good, but it'll be 3 months too late by the time I write it. So, you know, have ChatGPT write some posts and things like, oh yeah, and tweak it to sound like me written wise. I think that's different. But when it comes to our voice, the human ears are designed for the human voice. They're tuned to the human voice. We feel the vibrations, even though it's over Zoom, we feel the speaker replicates the vibrations, the timbre, the tone in our earbuds. The quality of audio now is we feel if there's a difference or if it's mechanic or we notice it subconsciously. And um, I lost where I was going, but anyway, that's we got to be keeping it authentic. Keeping authentic. That's going to be the differentiator. People are going to be like, well, okay, with holograms coming up, and we can go in the whole other, route of what's actually happening. How to determine what's actually bleeding or not is, I think, is going to be a deciding factor of how people connect to you. It's like, oh no, I could feel the warmth of his blood or her blood, and I could feel the warmth and the humanness in her communicating. So that's gonna be the deciding factor of what I listen to, what I follow, what I trust. Yeah, things like that. So that can go down a whole different path, but but that's why hopefully I answer your question, Latar.
Yeah, and just like a follow-up statement to that is, I don't remember the exact terminology for this, but this doctor did the study on how we perceive and accept anything that's kind of robotic. It's like if it can imitate a human to a certain point, it's getting more and more acceptance by humans up to
Mm,
a certain point, and then when it supersedes that, it just starts getting weird,
mm,
and you kind of get that like spooky eerie feeling, because it's like, oh, it's so close to the human voice, but it's just not Vaughn. I know that's not Vaughn. And then you kind of get this
right.
thing in the back of your head where, like you said, you lose all credibility just because it's, people thought it was you and then it wasn't.
Yeah, it's like that wasn't you.
You don't know
So then
what's
there's
real
like
and
that
what's not real
creep
anymore.
factor behind it.
That's what's happening. We don't know. And the funny thing is sometimes if we become too dependent on them and give the full access, and as much as it seems like it will not take over, they can take over whenever they want as well. And people are not aware of that. And it's yeah, and it's not a fear based, but it is the reality if you look back in science and every history.
Yeah.
But it's like know how to do it as well. And just don't give your full. I had someone says, "Oh my God, Chat GPT or all these other." There's like 200 different
Mhm.
ways besides Chat GPT. Wasn't available. This computer was down, and she had to come up with something to write, and she couldn't. I mean,
Right.
our human brain is very powerful, but it's just if we allow it, yeah, it's like you can't think. What do you mean?
Yes. Yes. Making everyone
Codependent.
tech dependent
Yeah.
instead of tech savvy. Like the generation, they're not necessarily tech savvy. They're tech dependent, or
Right.
we are becoming more and more tech dependent. Uh, I'm part of Generation X, and as I tell my son all the time, I said, no, it's my generation that actually created and all of this technology that's here. We formatted the base of it, so we know how and why it operates. Your generation just knows how to do the keyboard and the touch screen and how to flow. But if when we ask my son, say, so how do you get home without opening your phone? How do we get to, tell me how to, well, you got to go on this street. Well, what's the street name? I don't know. Well, you got to know the street name. I just know there's a Lowe's there, and you make a right at the Lowe's. It's like, yeah, but you have to be able to tell the street names and what's north, south, east, and west. What's, you know, and to train it, because what if when the battery dies or when Google wants to turn the switch off,
Right.
you got to be able to, or electricity goes out or whatever. How are you going to survive? So you need to know at least the basics on how to get somewhere and not be,
I love that. That's a
right?
great example. Yes. Yeah. Like, do we know where we live anymore? Yes.
Yeah, our
Oh, the
address.
phone number too. There's
Phone
so like
numbers. Yeah.
phone number is like, what's your daughter's, son's, mom's, whatever, the close immediate, do you know their number? No, let me check.
Yeah, let me look. And I'm trying to get back to, back in the day, it's like I knew like, I don't know, 50 numbers. It's like, oh, Mark, yeah. I still know it. 909-875-0676 and 3288 was my home number for years. And
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. We have our minds, if
Program.
careful, is like to really stay there. So
Right.
brings up a good point. So the voice being authentic is so really plays a major role. I think another thing is that you have to write a book. You got to go to the process of organizing it, making it flow, and so you do have to write the book, and then you have an audio version of it. Um, One thing Latar and I were talking about, but you can go reverse. And I was in another forum the other day. Like I like to record my thoughts. Thinking of writing it is is torturous for me, but I can push record. That's why I have my book here, push record so the world can push play. It's like I could push record and I could talk my thoughts. Even like when I was making my music, I would sing the whole, oh, do 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 do. Okay, that's a neat line, and the drums are gonna go like this, and then the bass is do do do, and I'll sing the whole parts because that's how I'm gonna remember it, and I'll play it back, and then I can do it. Same thing with a book. It's like, oh, this thought just came. I got this download, this inspiration. Let me record it, and then if we can take all of those recordings, have those transcribed, give them to a ghostwriter, and then have them make it all book pretty and everything like that. And then now get the Amazon bestseller thing. But you go audio first to write it, and then have it written, made pretty, fill in the blanks, all of that, and then bestseller it. But promote your audio, because now all your audience has heard your voice, they've heard the book. Now when it's time to go to the bestseller, it's an easy click and done, because instead of starting with bestseller, buy my book, posting on my book is out, and all they see is the cover. Now they've heard the content, they've heard you, they've connected with you, and say, you know what, can you support me? I'm releasing it. I'd like to get bestseller status. Would you mind buying the physical or the ebook for 99 cents or whatever it is on this day? Now you already have hundreds of people that have listened, enjoyed the content, connected with you. Oh yeah, I'll support you with it because your book was great, so I'll support you. And now it's an easy bestseller rather than going backwards, doing bestseller and then selling it. So that was what Latar and I were oohing and ahhing the other week. And we we're like, wait, if we go this way and help people to, like myself, that don't write fast, what if we did it reverse and did the audio, share the audio, sell the audiobook on a platform where we could change the prices and still get profit and names and email. And now with those names and email, then have a physical or e-release date. And we already have our supporters that have already consumed the book. And bestseller is easy, super easy. So reversing.
I've got a slight problem though.
Yes.
I'm at the moment putting 3 mindset programs on the internet and a learning techniques program.
Mm-hmm.
The lady that's helping me, because I can't do anything technical because I just can't see enough to do things.
Sure.
But she's helping me do that. So we've got the mindset programs, and what she's saying is I should read them so that I'm on video to accompany the program.
Mm-hmm.
Except I read so slowly because I can't actually work out what the words are, because I can't actually see a full word. I kind of scroll through each word to work out what it is. My eyes are kind of, each word, as I scroll along a line, the line appears on 2 levels. So as I'm going along, the letters keep jumping up. So I can't actually see the full word. So I'm trying to work it out in my mind, what I'm reading, and it's all hesitation all the way through. So what she said is, I've got to read my program or a chapter of it, and then simply talk about it.
Yes.
Rather than read it. So that's what I would have to do with all my books.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I wouldn't be able to give you a chapter, only talk about my book.
Yes, and that's great. Well, here's a great aspect of that, is because audiobooks, there's no one regulating, making sure that you are reading word to word your book. So for you, that would be great, to where, yes, you talk, this is the chapter on this idea or whichever, and you talk about all the things in there that you already know. You speak from whether bullet points or just because you know your material. And that is absolutely fine. We can have that chapter, say your chapter, and it's you talking, but no one is no one is with a red pen saying, well, wait a minute, he's not reading what's written here. No, he's not. But you're getting the audio version of him about the material. It's all the material is in there. It's just not, he's not reading it. And that's fine, because that's passable. Again, because no one except you or the author is knows that it's not reading the book. Because for the most part, people that are listening to audiobooks are not reading along while you're reading to them. They're in the car, they're on the workout. So you can be, and then they can get the book, and it's like, oh, this is what, yes, this is what he was saying, but they're not connecting that it's not being read. So that's actually an awesome advantage. It's kind of like they make movies after books, and they always say, well, you read the book, it's way more detailed than the actual movie. And the movie is like a summary. So your audio version of your book and your chapters are like that. I've heard it and I got the material, your lessons. This is your philosophy. This is your method, your teaching. I'm really curious about it, actually. It sounds really cool. And I would love listening, because again, I'm connecting to you. And wow, this is Alan teaching his stuff. And yeah, it could be in the book. It could be total more detail or formatted in a certain way. And I can reference the book, but I have you in my earbud, and that's awesome. And then I'm gonna repeat that and learn from you. So yeah, I think that's a beauty about audio. It's not really regulated. No one's regulating. You're not gonna get cut off or what do they call it? Removed from audio world because you didn't read the exact book. Yeah, so
So
great advantage.
if you
Yeah.
read one chapter, how long would you have like a talking book?
So in the audiobook world, everything goes by word count. So if your book is, let's say, 50,000 words, every 10,000 words is they count it as an hour of audio. So a 50,000 word book is a 5 hour 5 hour audiobook, roughly. The actual technical term is every 9,300 words is an hour of audio is the technical. So if your chapter, so you can, see what your word count is per chapter, and then say, oh, okay, I got a 15-minute, maybe 15 minutes to speak on this chapter about the content, but it can go longer. Another thing you can do is, like, your audio version is more of exclusive bonus material.
Yes. That's
You
what I
know,
was thinking.
yeah, you're like, this is, the audiobook, the audio version is going to be, it's going to contain aspects that's not in the written book. So now it's like you want to get the written and the audio, because the audio contains some stuff that no one's going to get in the book. So it could be, half-hour long per chapter. And I mean, your audio can be, a 10-hour book, and maybe it's still a 50,000. So if someone read it, it would be 5 hours, but you've given all of this extra 5 hours of bonus material that they're not going to experience on any other media of it. So yeah, you could work it like that. Add bonus chapters. This isn't even in the book, and I wrote the book, and I'm just feeling kind of inspiration. So I'm going to add this bonus chapter and talk about this subject, because when I wrote the book, we weren't talking about AI and blah blah blah, but we're going to add this in here because this is current. And so you can add that, and so now it makes your audiobook even more exclusive, like, ooh, kind of thing. So
All of
That's
your
interesting.
ebook.
Right, because what I've done, because like I say, I've been into mindset over 6 decades now. I identified 190 layers of mindset that people should embrace, but they don't. And trying to change people's mindset is a long, slow process. Right? It takes a lot to change even one small part of somebody's mindset. People put affirmations around the house, right? They do that because they failed to change their mindset. If they changed their mindset, they wouldn't need them. Okay. So people, I came across a comment that less than 10% of coaches understand mindset. Now, I couldn't find the survey, so I did my own survey, but I only knew about less than 200 coaches at the time. So I sent out the survey to them, and the result I got back,
No problem.
I came to the conclusion that none of them actually understood mindset. Seriously, none of them understood it. And they talk about things like a money mindset. You know, we'll give you a money mindset. The last thing you ever want is a money mindset. Seriously, right? However, I identified 190 things, and I thought, well, if I can change all those, it will change people's lives completely. But then I don't know if you understand this, but the bulk of men die within 2 years of retiring. It's a mindset problem. Okay, so I created a mindset program, 60 layers of mindset developed across 60 years experience, and I suddenly realized it's going to take them 5 years to work through this. That's too long. So I've now reduced it to 24, and my passion has always been working with young people. So I'm targeting students, okay? But it's 24 layers, and it's really a 6-month program. Even that is kind of rushing it, but I've got no choice. So I'm doing that. This lady is now helping me to change it so that there's one program for the students, one program for entrepreneurs, and one for people approaching retirement. Okay. However, out of 190, I'm only using 24. So I've got all the others I could still talk about,
Right.
without actually going into my own programs.
Right. That's with that. What comes to mind for me, like you sound like you have, you start with 24. I mean, you can have volumes, the next 24, the next 24. I mean, you can have, like you said, something that's consumable and applicable, especially in this day and time where, like, if I can get 5 that, wow, if I understand about what mindset is, and I can tangibly see how my change in mindset with the first 5, or something like that, or I pick 5, because what you said about having affirmations up, the only reason that's powerful, just what you said, like, people put affirmations up to see, because if their mindset was changed, you wouldn't need that. That's like a hook right there. And so, like, even an aspect of that, like, if I'm able to pick from those, and I can see your book or your program as being, these are, I don't know, the first 24, and pick 5 from here to work on, and I don't know if you call it mastering, but to apply and change. But you have so many. The reason why I say that, I have an author. Her book is, she's super knowledgeable. Everything, it's about nutrition, it's about diet. I've changed my, I'm eating more blueberries and strawberries, and I'm learning, about why about the water, just because of listening to her chapters. Her audiobook's going to be like 11, it's 110,000 words, it's going to be 11 hours long. We're recording every week in the studio, and then she's putting out these, it's 49 nuggets. They're long nuggets, but they're powerful. One chapter is all about broccoli, another chapter is about, all things about supplements, and what makes a good supplement as far as bad. And it's far too much to, like, to consume in even in a month or 3 months. It's a lifestyle change. But the 5 I remember about water, I bought broccoli, I got blueberries, I got strawberries, because the application is like, wow, that makes sense, and I've learned, and so I'm changing my intake. And that was one of the first chapters that we've been recording since April. And it sounds like similar with yours, that it would be like, well, what 5 things can I grab and apply and know that I'm making a difference and understand and see it, experience it, and then still knowing that there's a whole bunch more. Like, wow, this is a evergreen resource, evergreen resource, and so you can have volumes like that, and people can like learn the principles, gather from that, make changes, and then just continue down the path and whichever is immediate for them. But having you talk about that and sharing it, like, and listening to that audio, like that, hers is a perfect audiobook, and I think like yours is perfect audio, and then have the written to just reference back to solidify. I've heard this, man, he said this. Wow, I want to understand why. I would need affirmation posters and things like that. Why is that? That's super curious. So if I change that, then maybe I may sit and read what you said, to solidify. Maybe there's an exercise that I do, or exercises. So I think that's great. And then you can have volumes of that, and you can actually use those snippets. And I don't know how your person's doing it, but I don't know, ideas keep coming. It's like you can use those snippets to whether email out to people, post little reels and clips of just your voice, and it could be your picture, your book cover. It can be you doing a 30-second, like just what you said. Have you ever thought about, we post up affirmations, but we wouldn't need to do that if our mindset was changed. Like, that's a what? Yeah. Thanks for coming up, and possibly we'll see you tomorrow, or catch up on another call or a Zoom in the near future.
Definitely. I'm glad I joined, because it was just, I had a bit of space and I thought, it sounded interesting. I didn't think it would actually be, but I do like to learn. And yes, I'm so glad I came on.
Awesome.
Wonderful.